Oh, chat. I've been hearing for a few days now about what Conrad Thompson of the 83 Weeks podcast with Eric Bischoff had to say, particularly about Roman Reigns and the SummerSlam main event with Seth Rollins that we just witnessed 2 weeks ago, a week ago at this point. And so I was curious what he had to say. I have not reacted to this. I have not watched this yet. I've heard, some other people paraphrase what he said. I'd like to hear for myself what he said, and we're going to get into it. We're reacting to this together live. I'm going to see if I agree with Conrad Thompson or if I vehemently disagree with Conrad Thompson. Let's jump right into this video.
I can't wait for us to talk about the main event. This was what they decided to put on last for both nights. It's Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. It was the longest match of the weekend. They went 33 minutes and 33 seconds. What felt like a million false finishes. I just assumed there would be some interference. It didn't happen. Roman Reigns gets the win. He retains. And part of me feels like, hey, I'm ready for something new. But the other part of me thinks, hey, they're just getting started with this. We're probably going to get a series of these matches as we get ready for next year's WrestleMania, which certainly feels like, after we saw Obafemi close night one in a non-title affair in a Hell in a Cell as he maybe retired Brock Lesnar again, it feels like next year at WrestleMania, it's going to be Oba versus Roman. So they're probably going to keep those guys separated for a bit. So what does Roman do in the meantime? Is it more Seth Rollins? And would you be for that after the match you saw tonight? And mostly, what'd you think of the match?
So first of all, before Eric responds to this question, Rollins and Reigns, especially with the way they ended the match, nobody should be questioning if we're getting more Rollins and Reigns. The way they ended that match was essentially the end of their rivalry, right? Rollins and Reigns was kind of like an Austin Rock. It was a modern day Austin Rock. It was a modern day, Cena Orton. It was kind of like that sort of feud where it's just two faces of a generation of wrestlers. And, it's just one more big match they had. And with the story they told in the ring and the way that match ended at SummerSlam, it is very apparent and should be pretty obvious to everybody that we will not be seeing that hardly at all, if ever again. And if we do get it again, it's a mistake. That is a saga ender. That is not the way that match ended. It's not something where it should get continued at all. So that shouldn't even be a fear in anyone's mind. Obviously, what Roman is going to do, and of course, we have something that Mr. Conrad Thompson didn't have at the time, where we have context of, a few weeks after SummerSlam. And obviously, LA Knight is going to factor into what Roman Reigns is going to do moving forward in the immediate future. He's going to beat LA Knight, bro. I'm sorry. I would love for LA Knight to get a shot. It's not going to happen. Roman Reigns will beat LA Knight again. And it's almost this, he's running back all the rivalries he had when the Bloodline was at their peak. And he's beating all those guys that he had to use interference to beat last time. That is the story they're telling. And this is all on the road to WrestleMania, where we will end up getting Obafemi and Roman Reigns. Now, I think doing it at WrestleMania is unnecessary. I think you can do it as soon as possible, to be honest with you. I don't think waiting till WrestleMania helps the product at all, because then the title is held hostage by Roman Reigns, who conveniently was off TV last night. He misses TV very frequently, not having your world title on TV, not having the world heavyweight champion interested in what's happening on the weekly television shows. It's not good for business, man. It's not good for business. So, and of course they ended the weekend with that because, like I said, it's the saga ender, bro. It was the biggest match of the weekend by far. And it was the best match of the weekend.
It wasn't a bad match. It was a good match. It was a great match in some respects. But it didn't do much for me. I mean, maybe because I'm just kind of over it. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel compelling in any way.
That's fair.
It doesn't grab my interest for any specific reason. I don't feel like if I fail to engage in that story that I'll miss anything, because I've kind of seen a lot of it, variations of it. So unless there's an element that can come out of this matchup shortly that makes it really more interesting, for whatever reason, that's the challenge. Come up with a reason to make it feel unique and compelling. But unless they come up with that, I know they're both great wrestlers. I know a lot about them. I just don't know anything new about them. So I really don't care about it. Hopefully they can make me care.
I'm going to give you a hot take that's going to.
I actually agree with Bischoff there completely. That was my issue with booking this match, as if it's some big unseen match. I mean, we've seen it 1,000 times. Sure, the match was decent. The match was great. It's hard to be invested when you've seen this same old movie play out 1,000 times before. It's hard to be as invested, man. WWE desperately needs new, fresh, rivalries, new, fresh matchups. They're in desperate need of it, man. And they need to stop pushing the same old guys who are already at the top. We need new blood. We need new rivalries. We need new, for example, Braun Breaker and Obafemi. That has a chance to be the next rendition of Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins and Cena, Orton, and Austin Rock. If they do it right. It's time to get matchups like that, man. Enough of the same old, same old. So I agree with Eric Bischoff there. Him and I don't agree on a lot, but I agree with him there.
Annoy you and probably piss you off, but here goes. I think Roman Reigns is probably the most overrated main eventer in WWE history.
Here we go.
I know this isn't a wrestling term, it's a music term, but Roman Reigns is what music would call an industry plant. I don't think if Roman Reigns disappears tomorrow, WWE's fortune changes at all. I think, they pushed him so hard against the grain. Down our throats is the phrase that Triple H would use about why they're not pushing Braun Breaker. Well, they pushed Roman down our throats forever. We had a good storyline with the Bloodline, but now that the Bloodline is it feels like it's into its black and silver era of the NWO.
Okay. So I'm glad I let him talk, because I was about to go off on Mr. Conrad here. So for Conrad to say that if Roman Reigns left the WWE tomorrow, their fortunes wouldn't change, that is completely false. Completely false. Outside of Roman Reigns, how many needle movers does the WWE have? And whether Conrad likes him or not, Roman Reigns is, in fact, a needle mover. How many do they have outside of Roman? They got CM Punk, maybe Cody. The fans have completely turned against Cody. The only way you're going to get him back to needle mover status, in my opinion, is to turn him heel. I don't think he's quite there yet. But let's, for the sake of argument, throw Cody in there. Punk, Cody, Orton, maybe. He gets banged up all the time. Rollins gets banged up all the time. How many needle movers do they got over there outside of Roman? 3 or 4 tops, bro. 3 or 4 tops. So I completely disagree with what he said, where if Roman Reigns were to leave the WWE tomorrow, their fortunes wouldn't change. That is completely freaking false. Their fortunes would absolutely change. With Roman, they had a hard time putting asses in seats for SummerSlam. Do you imagine if Roman wasn't on that card? Brother. Kind of an asinine thing to say. Although I do agree with what he said right after that. The Bloodline is in its black and silver era of, obviously calling back to the NWO. For anybody who's familiar, the black and silver NWO era was awful. That was when the shirts had silver instead of the white, and Jeff Jarrett was in there. Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner was in there, and it was completely falling apart. And it's funny that he says that, because the guy who created the NWO is the one doing the podcast with him. He's also the guy that ruined the NWO and ruined Starrcade. So, just going to be honest, bro, for as great of a mind as Eric Bischoff was, he had things as well that, he absolutely did incorrectly. So I agree with him a little bit in that the bloodline is played out and it's completely should be over with by now. I completely disagree with what he said about Roman Reigns not changing WWE's fortunes by not being there.
It's kind of like, it was a fun moment in time, but it's time to move on. I just
Agreed.
don't know that there's any really, truly fanatical Roman Reigns fans. Like if they booked Roman the way they do Punk or the way they do Cody or the way they do anyway, I just feel like he has just been, we've been conditioned to believe he's the top guy, but there's no real reason. I don't know that anybody could say, here's my favorite Roman match, or here's my favorite. When people talk about their favorite match ever, how many people list a Roman Reigns match? How many people list their favorite promo ever as a Roman Reigns match? And it's not like he's doing the world PR tour and doing all the heavy lifting like they have a Cody Rhodes or before that, a John Cena doing. He just flies in, takes 12 minutes to get to the ring, wrestles kind of the same match, does it really, really slow, gets his hand raised, and he moves on.
I agree, and then I disagree. So he's given a lot of give and take here. Although I do agree, Roman Reigns, he seems very disinterested a lot of times now. Saying that nobody's going to say their favorite match was a Roman Reigns match. First of all, not enough time has passed between some of the great Roman matches we have had. But I guarantee you there will be a time 10 years from now or whatever where this generation of fans are going to look back at WrestleMania 40 and say that is the greatest WrestleMania of all time. I guarantee it. I guarantee you that WrestleMania main event, and in my opinion, it is top 3 all-time WrestleMania main events. That main event for WrestleMania 40 will go down as one of the greatest WrestleMania main events in WWE history. Now, if you want to go back to Roman Reigns versus CM Punk from this year's WrestleMania, I believe if, given enough time, that match has a chance to go down as one of the best WrestleMania matches of all time. That match was fucking incredible. So to discredit Roman Reigns' in-ring work, especially now in this current era of Roman Reigns, I think it's just disingenuous. I get the storylines aren't exciting. I get, Roman Reigns right now on weekly television is kind of the same old, same old. I get that. But let's call a spade here, dude. The guy is a great main event match wrestler. If you want to have a banger main event and you want to throw somebody in there in that main event spot that can tell a fucking story in the ring and sell the audience on the story that's being told in the ropes, brother, Roman Reigns is the guy right now. Name somebody else that could tell a better story in the ring besides Roman Reigns right now. It's the way it is, dude. Cody's best match since coming back, Roman Reigns. CM Punk's best match since coming back, Roman Reigns. That's not a coincidence. So far, this is not as egregious as I was expecting, though.
He's Goldberg if Goldberg worked more than 10 minutes. What say you?
God.
On. He's Goldberg if Goldberg worked more than 10 minutes. What say you?
Okay, before Eric responds here, I don't even know if I'm going to listen to the response. So there was the egregious comment. Now I see why people were attacking Conrad, Thompson, left and right, and rightfully so. To compare Roman Reigns and Bill Goldberg tells me that you don't actually know what you're watching. You don't actually understand what you're watching. This guy who's doing the podcast with you is the one who should know better. Actually, let me see Bischoff's response before I go off.
I agree.
Oh my God. Bro, okay, I'm done. Shut it down. Completely false and ignorant. I agree with that smug look on his face. Turn your autofocus off, bro. It's giving me a headache. The nerve to compare Roman to Bill Goldberg is absolutely wild, chat. Completely wild and egregious. I can't even. Oh my God. First of all, Bill Goldberg's somebody who went out and did 5-minute squash matches, never had a banger match that anyone's going to remember, ever. In the history of ever, did Bill Goldberg have a great match that told any sort of story at all. Roman Reigns is night and day compared to Bill Goldberg in the ring. Roman Reigns is one of the best professional wrestlers of his generation in the ring. So to compare him to Goldberg, he's also a better promo than Goldberg. He also has a character which Goldberg never had. Come on, man. That's just disingenuous. That is crazy. And it sucks because I didn't disagree with everything he said. He said some things that I do agree with. But to say something like that, bro, automatically off the top, people are already going to discount your opinion because you said something that ignorant and stupid. That is crazy to me. Chat, we're going to be also reacting to what AJ Styles and this indie wrestler kind of went at each other back and forth about. This all started with a quote from Natty, WWE's Natty, Natalia. She says, Avery Styles wants to pay his dues. This is according to Fightful Wrestling, who posted this. She says, I was able to go to GCW yesterday and watch Avery Styles and one of our dungeon students, Marcus Mathers, wrestle, and they blew me away. They blew me away. They're so young and they have so much presence, and they just love this. They study it. They think about it. They eat, sleep, breathe, fight, scratch, claw, and want this. So after their match, I went up to Avery Styles and Marcus Mathers because Marcus already trained with us in the dungeon. I was like, man, Avery, I would love to get you in the dungeon because I just love his passion. I could feel his passion pouring through his soul, and I loved in this match. What I really liked is that he didn't win the match. It showed me, and I said this to Avery, I said, it showed me that you're willing to pay your dues, that you're not just going to come into the industry as AJ Styles' son that has to be pampered and coddled, and he wants to earn it. He wants to pay his dues, and I love that. So that was Natalia's quote there. Also in this very same thread, I have the tweets that went out. So this is where it all started right here. This one right here. Eric Cannon, who is an indie wrestler, responded to Fightful's post of Natalia's quote. And he says, as someone who watched this kid skirt away from helping with a single thing at this very show, I'd just like to say LOFing. To which AJ Styles responded, he was paid to wrestle at GCW, not help you put up and take down the ring. That sounds like your job. You just sound like a jealous douche. Then we got the next thread in there. AJ says, you don't ask someone, I guess Eric would have said this. A 20-plus year vet and promoter asked him to help with the chairs twice. Instead of helping, he hid in the locker room until everything was done. My 2 cents isn't going to affect his future, but with all due respect, you stating he doesn't need to help is only doing him a disservice. AJ says, you don't ask someone to have dinner at your house and have them do the dishes. He was asked to wrestle at GCW. Although grateful for the opportunity, a vet would have talked to him professionally or at least face to face. We are going to dive right into this. So it's kind of crazy to read those tweets and kind of see what everybody has been losing their minds over. I saw some other posts on X, mostly from AEW fans who hate anything WWE. They were kind of calling AJ, a Fed pill is what they kept saying. Here's the deal, and I know it's going to anger the AEW crowd. I know it's going to anger the indie wrestler who's been grinding for 20 years, never got a shot at the big time. I get it. But the fact of the matter is that Avery Styles is 19 years old. That's number one. Number two, this was Avery Styles' second match. That's number two. Number three, Avery Styles was called by GCW to be flown out to the venue, work the show for GCW, and he was booked the same way that somebody who, is released from one of the bigger promotions gets booked on the indies. It's the indies, man. Avery Styles is choosing to pay his dues regardless of what this Eric clown wants to say. He's choosing to pay his dues for the simple fact that he's going to the indies and trying to earn it. He's trying to follow the path his father paved. His father went to the indies, grinded through the indies, clawed his way up to the big time, up to TNA, which wasn't even really super big time, right? And then eventually to WWE. And he didn't even get to WWE till like 15 to, what was that? 2016. So that was 17 years in, bro. So listen, Avery's paying his dues, whether Eric wants to admit it or not. He's paying his dues because he's going on the indies. He didn't just use his father's name to get into the performance center and go straight to NXT at 20 years old and ride the coattails of AJ for the rest of his life. No, this kid wants to add to the Styles legacy, right? And that's what he's trying to do at 19 years old. Now, if the promotion asks you to help out with chairs, sure, bro. Just go help with the chairs, all right? But at the same time, I feel like these indie promoters need to pay people to set up the ring. Especially now where indie promotions are getting more notoriety than ever. Give a few fans, give whoever, $50 to go set up the chairs, bro. It's not a big deal. Right? You called Avery Styles there. And you know what sucks is this Eric guy doesn't seem to understand that. Do you think that Avery Styles will ever step foot in GCW ever again? Probably not. Probably not. And it's all because of you. Because you couldn't be a fucking man and go up to Avery and tell him this face to face in a respectful manner. No, you wanted to get notoriety. You wanted to get the engagement. You wanted to get your name more known out there. And instead of acting like a 40-something-year-old man, you decided to out this 19-year-old kid on X, pretending like you're a big, bad vet, wanting to get more engagement on your socials. 40-something years old, you're attacking somebody who's 20 years younger than you. Bro, I'm sorry, you went about this completely wrong, and I hope the majority of wrestling fans understand that Eric, whatever his name is actually the jackass in all of this. Avery Styles was called by GCW to go work the show. They flew him out there. They capitalized off of the Styles name, absolutely, probably knowing his father would be in attendance in some capacity, and just having the Styles name attached to that show probably sold more tickets than they would have otherwise. And you're going to out this kid on Twitter for not setting up chairs. Yeah, bro, he's 19. You're a grown-ass man. You should have known better. I'm sorry. If you walk away from this blaming Avery, blaming AJ, you are part of the problem in the IWC. Eric is the problem in this, and he absolutely needs to apologize for acting like a freaking teenager on X. Simple as that. Simple as that, bro. I don't really have sympathy for Eric and any hate that comes his way. You decided to attack the 19-year-old kid rather than have a one-on-one face-to-face convo with him. That's it. Have fun in GCW or whatever indie promotion you work for where the Styles name will never be heard of again. Awful, awful decision-making. That's pretty much all I was reacting to today. Conrad Thompson, he said some things I agreed with, bro. That's the thing. Not everything he said was wrong. He said some things I agree with. Up until he compared Roman Reigns to Bill Goldberg. That's just asinine and completely should take anything somebody says for the rest of their podcasting days and just throw any credibility out the window, right? That was horrendous. Horrendous. Eric, the indie guy, you're a clown, and I hope you get attacked vehemently on X for attacking a 19-year-old kid. Nobody should ever do something like that. In the future, if something like this happens, don't post on social media, guys. Just go straight to the source and be like, hey, bro, we asked you to set up chairs. Next time, just set up the chairs. That's all I ask. Simple as that. Simple as that. Gosh, the world would be so much simpler if people behaved in that manner, don't you think? I am Cy the Guy. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching this video on your Tuesday evening. Not a lot happening on a Tuesday in the pro wrestling world, so I figured I would finally share my reactions to this content with you guys. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. We're at 478 subscribers, man. We are 22 subscribers away from hitting 500 and halfway to monetization. 1,000 subscribers by the time YouTube decides to screw all of their creators in February. So they're upping the requirements. I'm trying to hit 1,000 before that. We're almost halfway there. I could not be more grateful for any support that I get, and I love everybody. God bless you all, and I will see you tomorrow for AEW Dynamite.